is not the candles on your birthday cake that'll determine your destiny. It's the choices you make every day. So anyone can do this at any age, at any stage, on any budget.
Welcome to the Inner Table, the art of living well. This season is sponsored by Coravan. Save a life one perfect glass of wine at a time. With Coravan's Wine by the Glass system, you're free to enjoy any wine at any time in any amount. Whether you love bold reds, refreshing whites, or sparkling wines, and we have a 20% off discount code from all of their stuff coming at the end of this episode. But it also works with non-alcoholic things, as I'll talk about in a second.
Perfect. So I'm Anna Lancaster. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and mental longevity advocate. And I like the idea of living longer and having a lot more fun with it. So that's where I'm coming from. And who am I with today?
You are here with Libby Brody. I'm a certified wine consultant and columnist, and I love food and drink and wine, obviously, but I want to live a healthier, longer life, which I think our guest is really going to help us with here. In fact, I heard that our guest was a bit of a tea fan. So what I've done here is one of my top things if someone doesn't want to drink wine but is a bit of a foodie is something like a sparkling tea. This by Saicho. So this is an oolong tea, so tea leaves from China, blended with a little bit of grape juice, a little bit of vitamin C, and made sparkling. It's low calorie, it's very healthy. And what's wonderful is that because it's made of tea, it's got a bit of that grip and tannin, which lots of non-alcoholics don't have. And it's what we love in wine to pair with our food. So this should have it, as well as being beautifully aromatic. But now on to our fabulous guest.
So our guest today is someone whose story I find genuinely remarkable. Laura Comfort is a biohacker, longevity consultant, and women's health advocate, a Harvard graduate, mother of 5, and the host of Peak Vitality podcast. But it's what happened in her own body that makes her voice so credible. After years of overtraining, burnout, and infertility struggles, Laura went on a decades-long journey into hormonal health and longevity science, and the results really do speak for themselves. She reversed her biological age by close to 20 years and gave birth to twins in her 50s. Not through extremes or restriction, but by learning to work with her body instead of against it. And she's just written The Comfort Code, a book that turns experience into practical, science-backed tools for women navigating midlife and beyond. Laura, welcome to the Inner
Thank you so
Table.
much.
Welcome. That is an amazing biography. Turned your age back by 20 years.
Yeah. Well, I took I think because I had my twins in my 50s, which is quite extraordinary, I was like, let's test my rate of aging. So I took actually 4 epigenetic age tests. And I think it was glycan age, epi age, novus age, and Elysium age. Anyway, they all resulted in between 12 and 18 years. So they look at different things. Some look at your sort of methylation markers on your DNA damage, and some look more at your sort of glycan composition, which measures sort of chronic inflammation. The results were quite astounding. That's why the first one I was like, wait, is this a fluke? Let me just take another and another and another. And so that's when I was like, wow, I do have a lot. Proof is in the pudding. If I can do that for myself, and I've got such a wealth of knowledge, lived experience, and research, so I thought, let's try and educate and empower other women to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at you can tell you look decades younger. For those who are on the podcast listening, just check out the YouTube because she does. But I mean, to have children in your 50s, there's such a narrative nowadays about your days are gone when you get to 40 or whatever. And that's just not true, is it?
It's not true at all. That's where I want to, the biggest message is to, rewrite the rules of aging and forget this old narrative that middle age is the beginning of decline. For me, it's the time of reinvention, and this can be your most, authentic, badass chapter in your life. And so it's just a question of, having the tools and the strategies to navigate the hormonal changes and to know everything from, so my book covers nutrition, obviously, and sleep and stress and working out and supplements. And it's really sort of a lifestyle, and it integrates your biology and your behavior as well as the environment. So there's sort of no stone
Yeah.
unturned.
What
No.
I find fascinating about this, and I hope many of our listeners will as well, is that quite often things can appear in this world woo-woo, but everything you just said seems very science-based and very fact-led.
Mm.
And in fact, there are studies going on. And is that how you got into it originally, or what would you say about the science behind it?
Yeah, it's all about science. I love looking at studies, and I think women were neglected for so many decades. And so we really it's very exciting. We're on the cusp of so much happening in longevity science that it's just a wonderful time to be alive. And I've always been passionate about the human body and optimizing the human body because I started out as an athlete, and then I actually ended up doing my thesis that was published back in 1989 at Harvard on the thinking styles of entrepreneurs, and it used a brain dominance model looking at thinking styles and in the 4 quadrants. And so if I go back all those years ago, I was always already looking into supplements and all of that, but how to optimize my performance. And then when I realized I had major health issues, I had amenorrhea, and then diagnosed with PCOS and potential infertility because I had no periods, and I had, but back then we sort of glorified the hustle, and we said, I'll sleep when I'm dead, work all night, run all day. And back then we sort of were consuming diet foods, and it was just, I was doing everything wrong. And I had cysts in my breasts, cysts in my ovaries, and no cycle at all. And was like, well, how can I start a family? And that's when I was like, wake up call. I need to figure this out and heal myself. Because if you look at athletes and actually high performing professionals, they often have accelerated aging because of the chronic stress on their bodies, which is interesting. So I thought I was doing everything right, running whatever miles a day, and I was doing hurdles at the time, hurdles, long jump and stuff. But so I had to change my entire lifestyle, get off the treadmill a bit, gain some weight, embrace healthy fats, learn to nurture my body, not to starve my body, not to count calories, don't touch diet foods, don't touch sweeteners, don't touch processed foods, learn about nutrition and how to balance my hormones was really the key. And with that, then you dig deeper, and it's balance. It's your hormones, it's your nervous system. It's really, and that's when I started the real research. And then when I had my first IVF at, I think it was 42, at that point I had 20 good eggs. So I knew that I was doing something right, and I did. Obviously, end up having children. I ended up having 5 children.
0 to 100.
Two in my 50s. So glutton for punishment. But
how old were you when you had your first? Because there's a little bit of an age gap.
Huge age gap. No, that was the end of my 20s, and at the time, so because of the cysts and the PCOS back then, they put you on the pill, which was normal. And that was fine. But then I went off the pill, and again, no periods. So then I had to try, Clomid and injecting something, I can't remember what it was called, and luckily it did work. And then so every child I've had to struggle to conceive. So my middle daughter, she was IVF too, and then the twins were IVF. So I'm all for medical supervision, all of that stuff. But I think I've realized now how, because I do some fertility consultations, and how much women are lacking the knowledge of how, at the end of the day, you need to create the foundations to respond well to fertility treatments or to anything in life. So you need to think about the body. It's kind of, I sometimes think of it as like, you're creating a nice nest or like a luxury hotel room. You know what I mean? Like you have to, if
So
and it's
true.
not just the quality of the eggs and the quantity of the eggs. And sometimes the doctors might push the quantity so much that you might sacrifice a bit in the quality and miss the
Oh,
overall
really?
um, objective, because
Mhm.
I had a lot of issues. So I had polyps and fibroids, 3 operations to remove those because I had implantation issues, and so it's been a long journey,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's why but successful in the end, and
Yeah.
that's why I thought if I can help other women
Mm.
with all of this, and as a result, a lot of these foundations
Mm,
for fertility are the same for longevity.
absolutely.
Going through IVF, it puts your body through such a lot. I have various friends who've done it, and it really takes its toll. And with your knowledge of how best to, as you said, sort of like make your body that nest and set it up, do you have advice? I mean, I realize you probably go into this massively in your book and your work in general, but for people who are undergoing IVF or are thinking about it, do you have any particular processes or foods you would eat or disciplines you get into that you would absolutely recommend?
Yes, I'm actually just finishing a fertility course. So I've got a wait list for that, and I do consultations. And yes, you really, again, it's a lifestyle thing. You have to look at. Um, I think there are some nuances compared to longevity. Obviously, you can push your body in ways that you wouldn't want to necessarily if you were trying to optimize your fertility. So, but yes, what type of exercise is appropriate? What type of foods will, improve your hormones? Um, you need the right stress management, because obviously that's key. You need the right mindset, which we
Mm.
can go
Mhm.
into, which is also key. And the nutrition and the supplements I always had to. There are specific key supplements that I think are extremely important, whether it's CoQ10, N-acetylcysteine, omega 3s. DHEA was important for me, not for everyone, but so there's a huge list of things that can really have a big impact
Mm.
on your egg quality. And then if you have lining issues, there's L-arginine. There are other things. So you really everyone's body is different. Um, so you really have to look at it sort of case by case, and what
Mhm.
are the issues. And same with longevity, women have a lot of more sort of stress and autoimmune issues than men. So that's another thing you have to look into, whether it's NK killer cells or it's Hashimoto or other things that might be underlying that a lot of people don't realize.
It's interesting how a lot of, like you were saying, that a lot of the evidence has been, or a lot of the science tests have always been done on men, not women. Because there was always, I mean, you spoke, so I do a lot of fasting, but actually that's not good always for women.
No.
And a cold plunge, which is the be all and end all dopamine strike, isn't always necessarily good for women as well.
It's true. You have to, if you think about it, we have a lot of male role models in the biohacking world, and they can do some extreme things. But you have to realize the nuances. The female body is very different, and we do have a much stronger stress response. So things like cold plunging, um, if done too much, it can actually have the reverse effect. And it also will, you shouldn't do it right after you work out as well for too long, because it can have actually dim down your results of the workout if you're trying to increase your muscle. So you have to look at some of these things,
Yeah.
and you can get the same kind of biohacking is all about building resilience, but it's the right kind of stress.
Yeah.
There's different kinds. There's acute stress, and you don't want to push your body too much, because then if you fast for too long, exactly, it can have sort of the
Okay.
reverse effect. And women especially um, are very sensitive, and our hormones as well. So we have that dawn response in the morning where cortisol naturally goes up. And so some people, like I, sometimes have a high-fat snack late before I go to bed, because that can almost double your progesterone during the night,
Really?
and
What
and
sort of
and
snack?
affect your.
We're like,
So,
tell me more
yeah,
about this.
what do
But
you
but
eat?
why
So
is
I
that?
might have a piece of cheese,
Oh,
or
okay.
or a scoop of peanut butter or
Oh,
something,
really?
and then but also I love magnesium and melatonin at night, and So, and a little bit of calcium as well, and that helps me sleep. So, again, everybody's different, and you really have to look at the overall profile and what the issues are, and because you want to keep your, even whether it's your fertility journey or longevity journey, you want to keep your blood sugar levels stable if you can. And yeah,
Is that something that we've been talking about peptides a bit recently, but a lot of the GLP-1s and that, do they help blood sugar to balance?
I
Is
think
that
GLPs can be amazing for pre-diabetics. For a lot of people, it's a game changer. But for a lot of people, it's not supervised enough.
really?
And I think a lot of women perhaps don't realize that you can lose fat, but also you can lose muscle and bone density.
Yeah.
So I think there are some people walking around who might later on feel the effects. Um, and so you have to be very cautious, I think, with peptides in general. Nothing takes away. You have to keep the foundations, whether it's eat enough protein, do enough weightlifting, look after yourself, because this is kind of like a way of short circuiting things. You know what I mean? It's sort of, it's not really cheating, but it's a quick, it's
Yeah.
you get such a
Yeah.
quick response.
But the weight
But you
lift,
don't have the mental discipline, then you don't
yeah.
have the actual laying down the foundation. And so, in order for them to be effective, it's much better if you lay the foundation and take it, you know, with a purpose in mind. Whether it's
you,
BP 157, whatever. If you have a sports injury, or then, I think a lot of people just think, it's going to be my, the key to longevity, and they're not even sure kind of what they're taking or what doses or what it's for, and I think you should just you know take them with a bit of caution.
it's a good way, I guess, to use that period of time to build good habits whilst doing it.
Yes, for sure.
And then jump into it. But something a lot of people talk about and a lot of women avoid because I think they're worried they're going to bulk up and be like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. But weightlifting is so good for women. And
I've been hearing about this. I did my first weight class on Sunday.
Did you?
Yes.
Well done.
I
Libby.
heard all over.
I think weightlifting, I mean, I mean your leg muscles, that's the longevity muscle. I really think, well, first of all, if they could put exercise in a pill, you'd be worth billions, right? For your brain just as much as your body, for absolutely everything. But weight training in particular is one of the keys to longevity, because your skeletal muscle is vital, for everything, for you to function later on. And there's really not much you can do to replace that. So they actually say that that you can look at sort of longevity and compare it to your thigh muscle, and there is an actual link, because if you think about what are the biggest muscles in your body, you've got your, well, I guess your heart, you've got your legs, you've got so you have to think about these things.
I'm delighted because that's my strongest muscle. Thanks to
Wonderful.
years of slut dropping in dance clubs when I was in my 20s.
Wonderful.
That is it's fascinating. I actually had no idea that weightlifting was why it was important. I knew people said it, but I didn't know why.
Oh, it's crucial, because it's once you, after 30, I think you lose, I don't know what percent a year, if it's 3% or 5%, whatever, but it's kind of downhill from there in terms of your muscles. So if you can maintain that, you'll look better, you'll feel better, and then you'll have more independence as you get older, more mobility. We don't really think about, we always think of the looks side, I think. Whereas as you get older, you have to think, oh, well, I want to be able to move now in my 60s like I did in my 30s. So how do I do that? And that's why I wrote the comfort code.
This which we have here,
which is fantastic. And just look at her,
I
phenomenal.
Obviously, this is all coming out that it is about balance, but it's also very individual for everyone. And you've spoken a bit about stress, which I imagine, being an athlete and Harvard and all of this stress has entered your life a few times. I'd love to know what you personally do to alleviate your stress.
So I have some sort of daily tools which I can use. I have sort of like a simple flow routine, which is great when I'm traveling. You can do great for the lymphatic system. If you don't have a power plate or a small rebounder. You can do bunny hops with shrugging your shoulder. Just jumping alone
Yeah.
is a game changer for your cells.
Jumping up and down by
Jumping up and
yourself.
down is incredible for your body.
I love that because
And
that's
it's
free.
great for your lymphatic system. And then if you have a simple flow routine, whether it's the trunk twist or this, or I can show you some.
Is that
But
yoga?
it's not yoga. These are just simple flow movements.
It's
Just
like
you know,
qigong
you
type
can
movements.
qigong type
Yeah.
movements where you move your arms around, you tap. I love dynamic tapping where you can tap your whole body and it's an immediate de-stressor. You also have breath work. A lot of people really practice breath work. And there's so, I mean, if it's fertility, if you're on a fertility journey, there are other things you can do like acupuncture, which I found very effective. And you know, of course, I think it's about balance too. So if you, I had to sort of cut down some of the HIIT workouts. You know, if you're like an aerobics queen, you might want to cut some of that down and incorporate a bit more yoga or Pilates. If you're depending on your cycle or your stage in life, or so I think it's like biohacking. It's all about knowing your body and understanding your body and listening to your body. Being like, okay, when my estrogen's going up in that part of the cycle, then I can push the workouts a bit more. Whereas other times of the month, it's not. So you have to try and, I think, be reticent of that and realize that we're not just small men. Right?
That's very true.
I love
But
that.
something that Livy will love about, I mean, something I definitely love about you is because a lot of biohackers are all about the optimization and their stats, and it becomes not fun. But you have this thing which, Livy, you will love in particular, the fun span, because it's not just all
What's
like
that?
Well, when I was writing, well, before I was writing my book, I think it was one of the first sort of panel talks I did. I coined the phrase fun span because I said that we have our health span, we have our lifespan, but for me, they're kind of missing the point. For me, there should be a new health metric called fun span. And for me, these are the vibrant years when you have libido, you have meaning, you have purpose, you have this ageless vitality and this sort of kick-ass attitude, and that's when you're thriving. And these years, so for me, it's less about counting the years and it's more about making the years count. And how do you really live life to the fullest, and what it means to really live well. And for me, that's more important than just because I always say, who wants to live to 100 if you stop dancing at 60? You know? So it's making the years count, and then making people realize that it's not the candles on your birthday cake that'll determine your destiny. It's the choices you make every day. So anyone can do this at any age, at any stage, on any budget.
Wow, I love that. That's very powerful. And I think a lot of people, particularly people often, as you say, they lose faith in themselves, they lose that motivation. Also, there is the concern of money. A lot of these things do cost a lot. So to go back to something that jumping up and down, for example, being something you can do for free is so important. Just to say, because I realize the clock is ticking on this. We ask our guests on this podcast a couple of things, everyone. And one of them is we have a room 86, which is what would you get rid of, either in yourself or in the world at large? It can be something serious, it can be something silly. But if you could get rid of anything right now, what would it be?
Oh, good question. Taxes? No.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, we're all there.
Let me think. War? No. Microplastics.
Yeah,
You
that's a
know,
good one.
I just think there's a lot we can do, because I often talk about detoxifying your environment, but it's almost impossible to detoxify your environment from microplastics because they're in everything. So there's certain things that are kind of beyond our control. But so we try and raise awareness because that has a huge impact on fertility, sperm count, lots and lots of things. The amount of chemicals that we are bombarded with on a daily basis that have quadrupled in the past 100 years. And then you wonder why we're having unexplained infertility or other issues. Um,
Like, what would they be in that you'd be surprised they're in?
they're in our water. They're in our skin through our clothes. They are leak into our food because of the packaging it's in. They're in our skin creams. They're in our shampoos. They're
Everything.
these you have forever chemicals. You have all different things. So, but that's why we push ways to detoxify, things like saunas and stuff like that. It's a great way of getting the toxins out.
What in your life brings you joy? What's one joy routine or thing that you use? I mean, your flow thing sounds amazing, but what?
Yeah, the flow thing is very good. For me, one of the biggest de-stressors is just being in nature. And I value that more now, I think, than I ever have before. And I think it's just immediate. If you can do a little grounding, if at all possible, take your shoes off and walk on the grass. Or my children, that's the immediate de-stressor, source of joy. But some people get it from a pet, the unconditional love from animals. But I think having authentic sort of human connection or with there's nothing, you can't replace that. And I think in this world with AI, where we are becoming more disconnected. I think it's more and more vital to have those authentic, those meaningful relationships, those authentic human connection, and really, that's at a premium now. And that's why I think, experiences, live experiences, are becoming so much more important for people because we look at the direction the world is going, and especially in the younger generations, how much time do we spend on our phones? So that's why I think there's nothing better than having friends and sharing a laugh and spending some time in nature and bring you back to yourself.
Yeah, it's the simple things, isn't it? And that doesn't cost. That's brilliant.
And it's the old-fashioned stuff as well, isn't it? It's just the basically be together in nature, get outside, go for a walk, be with your friends, your family. It's
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I've looked at some of the studies. You can increase your lifespan 10 to 15 years just by experiencing joy. And if you think about it, what differentiates us from AI anyway? AI is what patterns. We have all the neurotransmitters that we get from our emotions, from a joyful experience, which we then attach to a memory. They don't have that. And someone said that robot who got up, and they asked her in some interview recently if there's anything you wished you had or could do, and I think she said, I wish I could feel. I wish I had emotions.
Which also scares the heck out of me. Like the fact that they're thinking this through terrifies me.
It's absolutely terrifying, and that's in some ways why, when I was talking about the future also of wellness and social wellness at the Elevate Summit, why we really have to remember this. What makes us human, and really enjoy that. And if you look at, I always say, if you wear like the watches and all the digital wearable, whether it's the rings, the watch, if it gives you too much stress, then there's no point in wearing it. But how many sort of robots are running around? We're measuring everything, we're eating the same thing, we're trying to do the right thing. But look at my grandfather, my grandmother, 98, and they just ate fresh produce and enjoyed a walk with the dog every day and listened to classical music or whatever they did. Swam, they were still active. If you look at the blue zones, they all have different diets. They all have movement, and most of them have an element of nature, of course, but they also have connection, community, and a lack of stress. And that's a valuable lesson.
Yeah, I think London is a peak stressful
and so that's
place.
what too. I do enjoy a glass of wine, not usually at lunch, but but I do. I love red wine. I love going to vineyards and I think if that's a form of joy for me and a de-stressor for me, rather than,
Yeah.
then there are plenty of people who live long, happy lives and they still have indulged in a couple things that maybe a biohacker says you shouldn't.
What does the future have for you in
Oh
store?
gosh, lots. So yes, I've got a book launch, another book launch in America next week, and then I'll come back and I'll do. I have another book launch in September here, and then I've got some podcasts coming up. I've got some, lots going on, and yeah,
And summer
it's
with the
it's
kids.
it's all exciting.
And this book, The Comfort Code, Rewriting the Rules of Aging, where can people purchase this?
It's on Amazon.
Perfect.
And hardcover, paperback, or Kindle. It's a very, very exciting time, and if I can help empower and inspire others with my story and my journey, and help others along the way control their health and live the biggest, badass, fulfilling life you possibly can, then great. That's what we're here for, right?
Perfect.
Absolutely, absolutely. Where can people find you? They want to
Yeah,
hunt you down.
so my Instagram is Laura_comfort. I have my website, lauracomfort.com. And then I have some supplements coming out, and that's Laura Comfort Labs.
Oh,
Ooh,
we
tell
didn't
me
even touch on that.
that.
You're launching your own
When-
supplements.
When,
Oh my-
when's that coming out?
Soon.
Oh,
After the
fantastic.
summer.
Well, we
That's-
will be.
we will be locked
Yes.
in for that.
Thank you for having me.
Aw.
And
It
yeah, I'm a big fan of both of you guys, and I think yeah, if we can spread the message, and I think I was thinking the other day about leaving a legacy, and I was like, it's not just about money and possessions. This is leaving a legacy of well-being, and how important that is for future generations. And that because there's so much going now, research with every child you have. The child fetal cells can remain in the mother's body for up to 27 years, and your mother's cells are in your body for even up to a lifetime. So that exchange, what you do to your body now, can affect your grandchildren,
Gosh.
wow.
and people don't realize that. And so everything you eat, everything you do, what gets passed down. So that's why I'm like, we need to, especially if women are set to potentially control over 50% of up to 50% of the world's wealth. We need to think about wealth preservation and also health preservation.
Absolutely.
And so if women have been neglected, we need to get on the bandwagon. We need to spread the word, and make this empowering. And yeah.
I love that.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you so much. I'll quickly say that for everyone listening, and I hope you have been locked in because that was fascinating. The discount code for the Coravan products on their website is ART, capital letters ART, for 20% off. And on that note, but more importantly, everything you were
yes.
saying before, Laura,
And the comfort code.
the comfort code.
To
Thank you
that.
so much. Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Fascinating.
Thank you for having me.